James chapter 4 teaches us that the source of all conflict within us is an internal war.
James asks an interesting question, and I think it's a question that we've all asked from time to time. It's a question that every married couple asks, and that is, what causes fights and quarrels among you? And what's so interesting about the way James answers that question is that he doesn't locate our anger, our quarreling in the other person. He doesn't locate it in our past. He doesn't locate it in our experience of oppression or in the way that we were parented. He locates it in our passions that are at war within us. So all of a sudden, we have this radical transformation in how we understand anger. That somebody else can't make me angry, that only I can make myself angry, and it particularly and specifically it's sin in me, it's passions that are at work against God that just make me want my way.
So when we have rage and anger come into our lives, it's not coming from a happy place. It's going to be coming out of selfishness, it's going to be coming out of self-centeredness, it's going to be coming out of a sense of revenge, or just not getting our way.
I think most of anger in marriage comes from exactly where most sinful anger comes from in any situation. It's from an idolatry of the ego.
Where does marriage always go wrong? It's when I want the right to set the rules by which this relationship would work. That's at the bottom of every marriage difficulty. Whether it's, I don't want to have to say I'm sorry. Or I don't have to always want to be nice to you. Or some days I don't feel like serving you. That's taking God's position. That's writing my own law. And then what I want from you is I want you to keep my law. Now I'm angry, not because you've broken God's law. I'm angry because you've broken my law. Think about it. Think how little of our anger has anything to do with the kingdom of God at all.
Every culture, I mean, you meet people from all over the world, and almost every culture has an excuse for anger. It's my Scottish temper. It's my Irish red hair. It's my hot Latin blood. You know, it's my, black heritage. And every culture has an excuse. In other words, anger is a sin for other people, but because of my genetic makeup, it's not a sin for me.
There's many faces to anger, and so for some people, they hear the word anger, and there's a traditional face of a person exploding, throwing stuff, slamming doors, cursing, yelling, screaming. But I think there's a passive side to anger too. It's kind of the silent assassin, where you just go, oh, okay, I hear you. Anger's got many faces. And to be sure, Jesus he doesn't downplay anger at all. In fact, in the Sermon on the Mount, he equates it to murder. And I love that metaphor there, because anger undealt with kills. And one of the things it kills is it kills relationships, kills marriage.
There are chronically angry people. There are people who it is a huge, life-dominating, long-term thing. I would imagine that's two things. I think there is some learned behavior in that. I have sat with couples who are so mean to one another. Literally, I would have tears in my eyes and realize they weren't emotionally responding to it, because they got to a level where that was just such habit. And as I've sat with couples like that, I would always think, what would it be like to be raised in that kind of environment where that level of meanness and anger and abusive talk and slamming the door and walking away, all those kinds of things were so normal that became the norm for me in terms of how human beings act and respond. I think the other is that there are a lot of people who've had horrible things happen to them, who have injustice in the deepest sense of what that term means, that have never had a context where that could be dealt with. And there is a brokenness inside of them, an anger inside of them.